Hey folks, Eric Smith here, radio voice of the Toronto Raptors, NBA host and analyst with Sportsnet. I want to shout out my man Chris and 30 Minutes Live with CDP. Even though I know, Chris, you're not a Toronto sports guy, you've got those allegiances to the Detroit, Windsor area, the Pistons, the Red Wings, the Tigers, and for some reason the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm still trying to figure that one out, Chris. Why'd you drop the Lions? Why'd you drop the Lions, Chris? There's got to be a reason there. We'll have to fill everybody in on that another time, I suppose. But again, check out 30 Minutes Live with CDP every Wednesday and Friday. It's on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook Live, you name it. Chris is everywhere across all platforms. And if you just want to check out the audio version, maybe you're going out for a walk and you just want a podcast or something, you can get it on Apple, Google Podcasts as well, Spotify, Anchor FM, and Radio Public. So again, I told you, Chris is everywhere. And I'm hoping that I can be a guest on the show at some point this summer as well. Wednesdays and Fridays, 30 Minutes Live with CDP. Check it out.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to 30 Minutes Live with CDP. I'm looking forward to tonight's show. My guest is Neal Foreman, the assistant coach of the Windsor Express of the National Basketball League of Canada. And Neal's been nice enough to give me a few minutes tonight to come on. So just give me a minute, guys, and I will bring on Neal. And I really look forward to it. I had my friend the other day, Aaron Sanders, the voice of the Express, on. So just 1 second. I'm going to bring Neal on right now. Good evening, Neal. How you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for coming on tonight.
Oh, thanks for having me. I'm glad we were able to connect and get this done.
Yeah, like I said, you're my first coach I've gotten from any league to come on, so I really appreciate this. So,
yep. Hey, anything I could do to help, right? So,
okay. How was your day today?
It was great. Busy Wednesday, but the sun came out and weather was nice. So, onward and upward, right? How about yourself?
Not too bad. Not too bad. I'm happy. I'm a Pistons fan, so I'm very happy for the first time in my lifetime. I'm 49. The Pistons are going to get the number one pick. The last time they had the number one pick was 1970.
Wow.
And I wasn't even born. Go ahead.
Ben Wallace is going to be, I think, the new draft guy every year now, right? Just good luck.
Yeah, because like I said, the Red Wings the last few years, I'm a Red Wings fan too. We've had no luck with the number one pick. We've either picked fourth or sixth or seventh and dropped. And it was just nice to see a Detroit team actually get the number one pick. And I like the number one player out of the draft, Cade Cunningham, I guess a point guard from Oklahoma State Cowboys. So it looks like he's going to be the consensus number one pick in the NBA draft.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. I think he said that he's only going to work out with the Pistons. Great size. Oklahoma has great talent too, right? They've got a good program. So him coming out of there is probably ready. I think it'll just be a matter of the GM with the Pistons, if that's exactly what he's looking for. And but it's a number one pick, right? So
and the Pistons last year, they had Isaiah Stewart, Sequoia Bay, and then Killian Hayes missed some time. So I think the future is very bright for the Pistons because I think Troy Weaver is a very good GM. Dwayne Casey is good with young basketball players. And I think they finally got a plan in place to get the Pistons back on track to win again.
Yeah, they really did do a great job at the draft. Looking back, just to evaluate so many of the Div 1 players, they were highly ranked kind of on our lists as far as talent. And for some reason, I think they were able to slip to where they were picked. And you're right. I think that's a great trio to come in and to add to, the Pistons.
Yes, so I was a Pistons fan long before the Raptors came along. So I have to admit the reason I became a Pistons fan was because of Isaiah Thomas in 1981, who was second overall. So, but it's just amazing. This is only the third time in Pistons history they've drafted number one. 67, they got Jimmy Walker, and then 1970, Bob Lanier, and now most likely Cade Cunningham, most likely, but we'll see what happens. Yeah, so right. I'm excited, and then I'm excited. The CFL is going to be back in August. Yep. I'm actually involved with the Nighthawks as a volunteer here for the CBL, and I'm sure the NBL Canada should be back in November. I hope. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, kind of talking to the team and the club. Our season usually kicks off at end of December. Training camps will be mid-December, but everything's looking good to go for that. All the teams are ready to rock and roll, and we've been all kind of patiently waiting and waiting for provincial approval for the last year, right? Ever since everything kind of shut down. And that was the great part about the league. Everybody was constantly talking, trying to come up with solutions that it would allow us to have that ninth year, which unfortunately we kind of had to postpone, right? So
I was going to say, did you guys ever look at like a summer tournament like the CEBL did, or it just wasn't feasible?
Well, we looked just from talking to internally. They looked at a number of scenarios, so like a bubble thing, a tournament here, a tournament be it on one of the islands, something like that. It was just with all the restrictions coming in and with everything kind of up in the air, it's always difficult. Our team's made up of we'll have our 5 Canadians and 7 imports. And just to get everybody across the border and quarantined and everything, it was just logistically, I believe, a nightmare, right? So, hats off to the NBA, how they did it. Even the CEBL last year, Mike did a great job putting that together. That was fantastic, right? So, and they're about to kick off now this weekend, right?
Yeah, June 24th, and the Nighthawks' first game is June 28th, and they invited me back as a volunteer, so I'm looking forward to get involved with that league, but I also like to learn a little more about the NBL. I've been to a game in London with my cousins. They're London Lightning fans, but ironically, I saw the Windsor Express. I was gonna say, now I don't want to put you on the spot, but do you think one day you could see the two leagues possibly emerging and just have one type of OHL type basketball? Or do you think two leagues can survive, like not survive, but do well, I guess, because I guess your schedule is a little different from the CEBL. I just thought I'd ask you that.
Yeah, no, I mean, and a lot of the guys ask me that too, the players, and I could probably see as two separate leagues. I think it kind of works for both of us, where we go from December till May, and they'll kind of start in June on. The CBL will grab a lot of players that came from overseas that are Canadian, so they would just be at home kind of on the off season anyways. So it really does fit. So I think we play well together, is what it is. A lot of our guys are playing in the CEBL. So that's fantastic for them as well. And like I said, we it's competition, but it's not a direct competition, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I think it's great. I think, like I said, I'd like to go to some more NBL games when you guys start up again. And it's just, I think the basketball's great. Like, I think it's really good. And Aaron Sanders, who I befriended on here, he does a great job with you guys. And as soon as I hear him do the games, this guy will be in the NBA or professional TV one day. Because I think he's really good at what he does, and his mind is like an encyclopedia.
Yes, it is. He's got a great voice, great attitude, great demeanor. We're lucky to have him, and he's just always positive, and you love to have him around when he comes in the locker room as well, and just around the games and in his group there doing what he does, right? So he's unique, but yes, you're right. He's very talented, and even to see him grow over the last few years. He's really started to do what he does.
Yeah, and he's only in his mid-20s, but he remembers stuff before he was even born, and I'm really impressed because, like I said, his knowledge is really second to none. And I was lucky to have him on my NBA podcast the other day, and I try to pick Aaron's brains about stuff as well because I'm always wanting to learn new stuff too. So.
Oh yeah. Like I said, you're right. He is just an encyclopedia, and you're right. He's just got that steel trap as far as info, and it's a credit to his craft, is what he is, right? So
definitely. And I like to try to promote you guys. Like I like to try to get more guys from the NBL to come on here too. Like just let people know about the league and the teams and the players and stuff like that as well. So I try to I try to expand my podcast. Like, it's a sports show, but I also try to get guests from other fields. But like with this, definitely it's great having you on here to talk a little bit about your coaching career and about the Windsor Express. And like I said, I'm just looking forward to having basketball back in Ontario very soon.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like I said, it's been different, obviously, for the last 15 months.
Yeah, it's been a long 15 months.
Yes, it has. I mean, when everything first shut down in last March or whatever it was, we were literally about to hop on a flight to go out east for a couple-week road trip. And, it was just by happenstance that, at the last minute, they said, nope, stay home. We've got to revamp some things and figure out what's going on because everything just literally shut down 2 days later. And we would have been on the East Coast. Yeah, who knows? Living in a hotel somewhere, right? Until we can figure things out. So.
Yeah, because the last time I went to the States was February 5th, 2020. And even then, the custom guys were grilling me about COVID and all this. And I'm like, I think the border should have probably been personally closed sooner than it was.
Well, it was one of those things where I think it caught, obviously, everybody off guard. And, just the sheer size of it. I know personally, internally, even with the younger teams that I coach, and it was like, oh, okay, this will be a few months. It'll pass over. Never thought it would go to the extreme that it did, right? So
definitely.
But hats off to everybody that's stayed on those front lines and are working and keeping everybody safe. I mean, our family was lucky that it didn't affect us as much as it has other families, right? So.
Yeah, I've been lucky as well. I've been working for the most part as well. And I created this podcast over a year ago as well to keep me busy. And I really enjoyed doing this. And I also do some camera work with Rogers TV for the Guelph Storm games. And I haven't done a game for them since February 26th. So I told my producer, I had him on here last week, Neal White, really good guy. I said, you guys are going to have to give me a little more training again because I've been off for over 15 months and it's hard to believe. But like I said, I just appreciate having this opportunity with technology to do this podcast because now I've decided I really want to get a career in radio and I'm hoping one day somebody will give me the opportunity. So my podcast is only as good as the guests that come on.
Well, that and the host too, right? I said, so far, like I've caught the ones that you've posted recently, and it's great. Like I said, I can see you really taking off with this too.
Yeah, and I really appreciate it. And like I said, I'm going to probably have Aaron on again, maybe to talk about the NBA Finals and stuff like that. So.
Oh yeah, he's perfect for that, right? So,
definitely. Definitely. You did answer one of my questions already, and that's why I make sure I try to get my listening skills together. So you're allowed 5 Canadians and 7 imports on the team. Okay, I did. Yeah, it's a little different from the Guelph Nighthawks and the CEBL. So I was just going to ask you about that. So
their league, I think it's 10-2.
I think it's 3.
Canadian.
I think it's 3. Yeah.
Oh, is it 3 now? Okay.
Yeah, I think it's 3. I believe. I could be wrong, but I wasn't sure if you guys were the same or a little bit different. So
no, and partly because December through May, a lot of the Canadian content is overseas playing, and that's one of the strongest points, kind of about our league. Is when you've played overseas, that's tough in the sense that being away from family or in countries where you don't necessarily speak the language. So hearing from a lot of players, a lot of agents about wanting to play in our league and, for us as well, it's closer to home, right? With us, Detroit's a 20-minute walk, really.
Yeah.
So it's not as far as away as where they have to play usually. So that's usually who we get player wise when they're reaching out, right? So
okay. Before I start asking you some questions, can I just show my viewers just a clip of your game last year against Kitchener-Waterloo Titans before your season got shut down? I believe it's from January 20th, 2020. The clip is courtesy of the NBL, but it's just like about a minute long. So I just wanted to play that on here. I do this for all my guests, try to show some work or whatever they do and promote the league or whatever on here. So just give me 1 second.
Yep.
And I will, and we'll just, can you hear that okay?
Yep.
The KW Titans look to break a 4-game losing spell as they took on the Windsor Express. The Titans looked primed to do so early. A game Ellis would drain the lawn to. His team led by as much as 11 before Windsor scrambled back.
Osei nearly with the back pass. Nix trying to pass it out to Jones for the 3. Yes, how in the world did they get that off?
Chris Jones scored 12 of his 17 points in the second quarter. He would feed Kemi Osei the ball for a 3-pointer to give Windsor a 49-47 lead at recess. The Titans would keep it close in the third with some big plays. First was with the Jonathan Harris alley-oop. Then Marvin Phillips with the putback in traffic. Windsor would take the momentum and run with it. First, Shaq Keat would slam in 2 of his team-high 20 points. And Sam Modro would not just block 1, but 2 straight shots on back-to-back possessions. He finished with 6 rejections. Those plays would help set up a 13-4 Windsor run, and the Express would not look back. They break a 2-game losing streak of their own. 99-87 is the final. Be sure to catch the live stream action all season long by registering at mblclive.ca.
Anyways, Neal, I just wanted to show that clip and stuff like that because, like I said, I think the league's a really, really good league for players development as well.
Yeah, it was unique because, at the pro level, the teams change every year and throughout the year. But our group last year, it almost had a college feel to it, where when we traveled, the guys really stuck together and really did a lot of things together. It was different than a typical pro season where everybody kind of goes and does their own things, right? So we really did have a brotherhood going into it, and it was fun. It was fun to coach. The guys are great, obviously talented, but just outside of the basketball as well, they, with what they've got going on, it's great to be able to sit down and have dinner with them and talk about life, right? So.
Okay. Before I get into questions, I just wanted to ask you, before pre-COVID happened, did you guys play any exhibition games before you started the regular season, or do you guys just get into like training camp and then do the regular season games?
Usually, or last year, what we ended up doing is I think we only did the one exhibition game against London. They came down here. And a lot of that is for both of us just to trim down that roster. So it's the tail end of our training camp just to see how everybody flows and plays when the lights are on, right? So typically we'll try and get 1 or 2 games in, London being our, 401 rivals there, hour and a half drive. So it's not all that bad to play each other, go and visit each other and get a couple games in. Other than that, really, it's just training camp, and then we're into it, right? So, the 2 weeks, roughly 2-week training camp. We'll have the holiday, and then right after the holiday is the start of the season.
How many games do you guys normally play in a regular season?
Last year we were slated to play 32 or 36, I believe. It's usually in the mid-30s. Previous years where there was additional teams, I want to say we're in the 40 range before playoffs, right? So, but with us having our 8 teams now, that kind of is a nice balance.
I was going to say, you think the NBL Canada could expand in the future, get to 10 teams?
Oh, I think it's yeah, I think it can grow even larger than that. I think it's just a matter of getting the right fit. And, it's when you're expanding, you've got to have enough teams in an area to make it the road trips worth it, right? So right now we have the 4 teams out east, 4 teams in the central. And it works out logistically anyways, right? To do it.
Because I was going to say for your division, if you guys did do expansion, I think Sarnia might be a candidate.
It could be, yeah. Like I said, it comes down to, is somebody interested? Do they have the facilities, right?
Yes.
To be able to do it.
Yeah.
And I think there's even been talks in the past about going even further west, right? To really, really expand. But again, that's a lot of work to be able to do that, right? So
and right now you want to do it slowly. You don't want to do it too fast. And that's and like I don't want to compare your leagues, but I think the way the CEBL is doing it slowly too, as well, is probably the best business way to do it.
I think what they're doing is very smart. They've got in the major markets, it's spread out. So
Yeah.
they've shown that it can be done.
Yeah.
With where they're located, and I think with us, we can definitely do that too.
Okay. And what a roster is what? Usually 12 guys in?
Yep. Yeah. We'll have 12 active players at any given time. And for most leagues, like if people aren't aware, that there's a lot of roster turnover throughout the year. So when you look at the box scores, and that's guys getting other opportunities in other leagues, and they've showcased what they can do here, and moved on in a positive way. And we're happy for that as far as the team is concerned, right? If you can get a bigger, better paycheck and provide for their families, that's great, right?
Yeah.
So
are you guys allowed to have a practice squad too?
Oh yeah, you can in theory have as many people practicing, but just not on the active roster at any time, right? And all the teams will do that. They'll have players come through that all want to work out and just to take a look at them. And we'll do the same, just to say, not necessarily for this year, but for future considerations.
Okay.
Agents will fly players in all the time just to say, hey, can you take a look at them? And at the pro level, it's a bit different because it's a need based as far as how deep you are at that position. And we've been lucky that we've been fairly deep as far as our talent. So like I said, when the guys will come in, it'll be more for, hey, couple years down the road, that might be a good fit, right? So
okay. I'm just going to start asking you some questions, Neal. The first one I wanted to ask you, can you just tell my audience a little bit about yourself, and when did you decide you wanted to pursue a career in coaching with high school and now with Windsor Express?
So I've been coaching for, I'd have to probably look at my resume somewhere, 15, 17 years. When my wife and I first got married, we moved out west lived in Vancouver, lived in California, and I coached high school out west. Great experience. And really the reason I got into it was the company that I was working for. People would apply, but nobody had that team, built into them. So there was something missing. And, having spent most of my younger years playing as much as I did and training as much as I did, I said, okay, it's time to give back, right? So coached for a few years of high school out there, and then we moved back here late 2000s and kind of been coaching youth, OBA, AAU, high school, a little bit of high school, ladies, men, and the opportunity opened up, and with the Express, and it jumped at it, right? It was just it's just happenstance like most jobs you run into, right? So
yeah. How many years have you been with the Express now?
This will be season 3, I think. So yeah, that's about right. So yeah, a couple of years ago, they had hosted the league combine here in Windsor. So players will fly in from everywhere and try out, and it's over the weekend, and competition skills, things like that. So much like the NBA combine. And like any of these things, you can always use another body, right? And that's kind of what it was, right? I reached out and said, hey, I kind of know what I'm doing. So do you need a body to just to open a door or hold help out at whatever it is? And we kind of clicked as far as the club, and it just fit, right? So
it's going to be a good fit. I was going to say, and obviously Bill Jones has been the coach of the Express, I think, since they came into the league. I think he's the only coach.
Yes, he is. Yeah, it was 7 years now.
7 or 8 years.
Yeah, and Bill's great, right? Like I said, it's it's nice when you join an organization and everybody welcomes you in, open arms, and it was just a great fit from the start, and same page. So Bill and I will talk periodically here or there, and but yeah, we're always just together on it, right? So
I was gonna say, is Bill the GM too? Like, does he do the GM duties too, or he just sticks with coaching?
He sticks with coaching. I can't remember what all the titles are. It might be like vice president as well. And it's one of those things when it comes down to evaluation. Well, our GM is sorry, she's gonna kill me.
No worries.
You know what I'm saying? It's been that long since I've
Yep.
seen everybody, right? So
Yeah, it happens. It happens.
yeah.
I was gonna. What I should have said was, do you guys have a little say? Obviously, Bill does, but
Yeah.
do you guys, the assistant coach, have a little input on player personnel and moves? With do they ask you for your advice, like your feedback and insight and all that?
Oh, of course. Yeah. Everybody kind of it's almost a group, evaluation as far as how it goes, right? When we all sit down, and it goes from everybody in the organization, all the assistants and everything, and in the office, just to see, what they notice, and everybody kind of puts their 2 cents in, and we kind of evaluate that way.
Okay.
Yeah.
My next question for you, Neal, is: did you have a mentor or mentors when you first started out as a coach?
Yeah, I was lucky in the sense that when I was out west, I was able to really connect with some great people within the high school, where they were able to help out on the admin side, because the admin stuff is always the part that kills you when it comes to coaching, right? So, and then when I moved back here, I was able to coach with Doc Thomas, alongside him, and Doc was, in I think every Hall of Fame that can be, and he was like such an experience to be able to work from alongside of him, and just to show you how small a world it is, kind of how Doc and I connected was his daughter Misty, again Olympian, actually ranked one of the best female basketball players in the world at the time, ran a tournament in BC that our teams were in. So that just shows you, the basketball community, right? So how it comes. So we came back here and, to hear the great Doc stories. And, you talk about the Pistons, and, he was the coach at Windsor back in the day when the Pistons used to train here. And he had great stories, right? So, I was very lucky to have him.
Because a lot of my guests that I have on here, I always ask that question because I find mentors are important as well. And I've actually had a few with doing my podcast as well from time to time, give me advice and how I can improve and stuff like that. So I think it's kind of important for any career to sort of have a mentor to kind of guide you.
Yeah, it is. It's huge. One of the organizations I'm with is helping out female coaches, not necessarily basketball, with the Coaching Association of Ontario. So they've got a women's mentorship program just to connect, higher level coaches with people that are just starting out or just need somebody to talk to help refine their skill, right? So I've been part of that for the last few years, and that's been fun too. All right, that was a great program that they were able to start, the Changing the Game program.
Okay, my next question for you, Neal. How did you get involved with high school basketball in the Windsor area?
So Windsor area, again, it came back to Doc when we moved back here. We had just had my daughter, and wanted a chance to help out, and he was coaching a small private school here in Windsor, and it was a perfect scenario as far as timing, right? Because that's always the thing, right? If you're not a teacher, that's always the tough part in Windsor, just because everybody practices so early in the day. Whereas out west, the practices are late at night, right? So you can be more of a community coach. But yeah, the timing worked out perfectly, and it was a good fit as far as the facilities are top notch. And like I said, Doc took me in, right? So
I was going to say basketball in Ontario has really grown a lot, and you see more and more of these young guys from Ontario high schools going to the U.S. college programs and actually getting in the NBA. I think basketball is one of the highest growing sports in Ontario. Everybody talks hockey and lacrosse, but I think basketball is right up there now.
Well, when you look at it, and when I talk to a lot of the coaches as well, is you look at the guys that we have in the NBA, and like you said, the ones that are going over the States now, and a lot of them, if not all of them, have come through our national program. our national team and the group up there have done a phenomenal job with the coach education. I think that they're 1-2 with Australia as far as the curriculum and the the process to become certified. But they really helped. So a lot of these players have come through. They've gotten the individual plans to get better. Even like Jamal Murray, who's up in Kitchener back in the day, right? So, and then you get the opportunity to play in the States, just because it's a different. The guys tend to go down to the States. The women will stay here, and stay in our Canadian universities, which is great as well. And it's just they've done a great job developing that talent. And you look at our national team now, who's I think they're trimming down the roster right now for the Olympics. I think all of them have been through that program since they were in the cadets, right? So,
okay. My next question for you, Neal, is tell us about your role as the head coach of the South Windsor Warriors.
So South Windsor Warriors are a club that's been here in Windsor since 89. 89 and 98. It's been a while. They're well established and great organization, great people. Everybody volunteers, helps out. And we all kind of take a team that's in need. I've coached the U14 boys. I've been lucky enough the last couple of years that I've been able to coach my daughter. Again, it gave us time to spend time together. Mm-hmm. And that's really what it was, right? We had a U13 girls, U12 girls, but really it was just a time to be able to spend with dad, right? The Express takes up a lot of time and, work and everything as well. And it was our time to have a couple hours on the court together and laugh and, just enjoy our time, right? So I've been lucky to do that. But great organization, we're really dedicated to the youth. We have a intramural program as well for kids that just want to come out on a Saturday and not necessarily travel. But the Warriors, they have teams from U10, and I think the game plan is that they'll have up to U17 this next season, right? So once things open up.
I was going to say, fingers crossed that high school basketball will return, hopefully in September or October, hopefully.
Well, yeah, because the ladies, I believe they're allowed to start mid-late August, right? Because their season starts like right after Labor Day. Right? They're playing games right away, right? So they'll probably have to make that decision now. I mean, everything's looking promising, with everybody allowed to have fans in the professional games, right? So
definitely.
Right. So fingers crossed, right? Because they've already lost out, right, on that 1 year. And that's hurt a lot of players, right, as far as losing scholarships or just opportunity to play basketball, right?
Well, look at the Ontario Hockey League too. A lot of the overagers never even got their last year in the OHL. And I talked to one of my connections with the OHL, and I'm like, I don't understand why they couldn't give an exemption for overagers to come back for one more year in that league, because they're getting punished, lost a year of their hockey career because of something that they had no control of. And you're right, a lot of people have lost over a year of playing. So I think what's going to happen when things all go back to normal, we're all going to appreciate sports and our everyday activities even more now.
100%, right? When everybody gets back there, everybody will be a little high strung at the beginning, but it'll be, once it gets back, I think everybody will just be relieved.
Definitely
to be able to experience that again, because going to a live game, it's a great atmosphere, no matter whether you love the sport or not. People that we've had come to our games, I have never heard a single person say, you know what, I don't want to come back and enjoy myself. All of them want to come back and enjoy. The rivalries are great, and the atmosphere is fun, right? So
definitely. Okay, my next question I was going to ask you, Neal, what adjustment was it going from high school basketball coaching to pro basketball with the Windsor Express coaching wise? Like, did you have to make a couple adjustments?
It wasn't as big as I thought it was going to be, and I think that's just kind of maybe my coaching style. The biggest difference really is at the professional level, you're working with the players. They're not working for you because they know just as much as you do, if not more. The nice part about the pro system is the things that you have in your head as a coach, they can do. All right. So you can draw things up, and they're artists is what it is, right? High school level, it's depending on the program, it's showing them, hey, this is what you've got to do to be able to be successful. And not necessarily just with basketball, just in life, right? The amount of work you have to put in, the amount of sacrifice. So you're getting them at different ends of their careers, really, right? So you can still impact both. It's just, at the pro level, you're dealing with peers and grown men, right? So you can have different conversations.
A little more teaching involved, and probably a little bit more patience as well with the younger players.
Yeah, I mean, what it comes into it is expectations, right? At a high school level, you have to realize that what they can and can't do. And, you hear coaches getting frustrated, but it's probably the expectations were incorrect, is what it is, right? And you're doing just as much teaching at the professional level, but because they've had so many years of experience, what may take you a day at the pro will take you 3 weeks at the high school level to kind of get them to understand, right? Most of the pros, they'll get it in 1 or 2 tries. They just, right? They're sponges, right? So.
Well, like you said, so I'm assuming you're going to be back coaching high school this fall once things open up, I guess, and you'll be back with the Express for your 4th year?
Yeah. I mean, that's the hope. Like I said, I think we'll figure out high school wise what's going on, and that's always a last minute thing. And we'll get a fit, and definitely with the Express. I mean, even now, even last year has allowed me to connect with a lot of agents, a lot of players. Really sit down and have those type of one-on-one meetings. Just say, hey, this is kind of what's expected of you going forward, and hey, are you ready for that? Because everybody says they want to be a pro, right? So. Yeah.
Okay. My next question, I just only got a couple more questions now. Are you still good for time?
Oh yeah, I'm good.
Okay, I always like to ask my guests because everybody.
If I get off this call, the wife's going to put me to work. So.
Oh, okay.
This may be one of those 4-hour podcasts.
Oh, okay. I haven't done one of those yet. One day. But one of my friends who does CBS Sports radio, Amy Lawrence, she does 4 hours a night, and I'm like, wow. I said, Amy, I love sports and I love talking, but I said, people are like, you only work 20 hours a week, but I said 20 hours of radio is a lot because you can't have any dead air at all, and you got to keep going and going and going.
Yeah, you've got to have that's kind of the script and the flow ready to go, right, type of thing.
Yeah,
and you're right, that is difficult to do, but it's like most things. Once you get that flow and you get that feel for it, you work the bugs out and you run with it.
I also have had to ad-lib too, because I've had some guests where they told me ahead of time they're going to be late. So show's got to go on and you just have to go with the flow. So I've had to learn how to ad-lib too at sometimes.
Yeah. You always got to have something, plan B and plan C on deck, right?
Definitely.
Much like coaching when they start coming out with different things, and
definitely
you go deep into the bag there.
So my next question is, how did you end up getting the assistant coaching job with the Windsor Express? Was that through a contact that knew somebody?
No, really, it was at the combine. It helped out, and it just happened that they had an opening at the time, and they, could use something. I'm local here, so it's perfect. Our coaching staff really lives in Detroit, so it was nice to be able to be over here. And Aaron, our GM, sorry, Aaron, I know you're gonna kill me for going blank before.
It happens. It happens to me.
I know, but she's not gonna let me live it down. So, and nor should she. And she's a Windsorite, so and Turner Group is all Windsor. And so it was just a good fit, right? I'm here, so I'm able to, do a camp at last minute type of thing. And it was just, it's all the preparation, all the Canada basketball, the coach education that I've been through over the years has been preparing for that moment, really, is what it is. So when that opportunity arose, it was a natural fit.
And that's important too. It's like anything in life. It's important to have a good fit with your company or with a team that you're within. It has to be a good fit on both sides for it to actually be successful and work.
Yeah, you're right. It is a lot of work. For to see that finished product on the floor, there's a lot of late nights, a lot of film. You have your team practices, you have your weights, you have your individual practices. So your days are long days, but I don't know that anybody would trade it for the world. Right?
Yeah, it's not your typical 8 to 4 job. It's something that you got to put in your hours and time, and it's something that you have to have a passion for.
You're right. All right. You definitely have to have a passion because, when you hit March and, you're about to go on that 10-day road trip, all the flights and, the last few years, I think with all the snow, every time we get on one of those flights for the long road trip, we hit that snow and, we're stuck in Pearson for 7 hours and, and basketball players, they're not small. So you've got all these, 7-footers laying across the floor and, everybody's just trying to get comfortable. And those chairs, they're not made for most of those guys, right? So
see, I like hearing about stuff like that because a lot of the fans don't hear stories like that. So
no, it's good. And like I said, it's just, those guys, that's the thing about basketball players. I think we've all learned to sleep anywhere. So you'll always see one of our teams, no matter what team it is in the league. Everybody will just kind of be crouched together, get their bags, and just kind of try and catch as much shut eye as they can in between, right?
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Just next question I was going to ask you, and just a couple more. What is the hardest aspect of being a coach, and what do you like about it the most?
Hardest aspect from a coaching standpoint is having enough content to challenge the players. Kind of like what I said earlier, they're so talented and they learn so quickly. You have to keep throwing things at them to keep them, their minds occupied. Is what it is. So that's the biggest challenge is having enough in your repertoire to know, hey, how can I throw this? How can I make them better? Is your attention to detail, minute, so that you can pick up on something simple? Because it's not necessarily a complicated game, but it's a lot of little things moving quickly, right? So that's really the biggest challenge. And love most of it, right? It's like I said, the work that you put in, it's not like work, right? There's a lot of late nights, a lot of film, and but it just seems like it's like breathing, right? It's when you're in love with the game, you're in love with the game, right? So
definitely.
Yeah.
Okay. This one I was going to throw in as an extra. When you guys, obviously, when you do your trips to Windsor, or not Windsor, but to London and Kitchener, etc., obviously it's on a bus. Now, when you guys go on the coast, I guess you guys take air flights. Now, do you guys just go over there for single games, or do you guys go over there for 2 or 3 games, and then you're done with the traveling aspect of it?
Yeah, we'll usually take a couple East Coast trips. You're right. You'll fly in and you'll do the round trip. So logistically, when we fly over, we'll hit the Halifax, the Moncton, the PEI, because it's all connected with the highway. So you'll be out there for 7-10 days, depending on how many games you can jump in there. We'll have another flight out to St. John's, Newfoundland, right? Just because it's on the rock, so you kind of do them back to back in their own flight, and vice versa. They'll do the same with us. So when they fly to the Central Division, they'll look to play the 4 teams before they can head back, right? To make it worthwhile. And again, we'll do that a couple times a year. So I try and get as much seafood in as I can. There's great food out there.
I guess to be honest, London's only an hour and a half. Kitchener's 2.5, 3 hours maybe, and then I guess the only really long one you have is Sudbury. That's
Sudbury. That's the long one. Sudbury's not so bad going up. It's just after the game, you get a quick bite and you're right back on that bus. And I don't know, we leave at 10:30, 11 at night, and we touch down here in Windsor at 8 in the morning.
Yeah.
And it's not like we're a summer sport, so that there's some fun weather that the drivers have to deal with, right? So
Yeah.
we've had some pretty long trips where it should take 7.5, 8 hours, and it's taken 12 hours and 45 minutes type of thing, right? So
Ideally, I was just thinking, ideally, maybe in the future they could do another team out there, like in Sault Ste. Marie or North Bay, because in that way you guys could stay out there a little longer and play more games.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where it's just, you have to look at any market. Do they have enough need for it to sustain it with the fans, right? The NBA's and Major League Baseball, like those, the NHL, they can get by on the TV revenues. Almost every other league in the world, WNBA included, almost you need the fans in the stands.
The gate-driven league, yeah,
you do, and that's why our season ticket holders and our fans are so important to us, because we really do rely and we need them, and it's great having them around, and it's a different type of connection than you would say with the Pistons, right? Just because of the natural progression. Like for one of our games, they're not as expensive. You can sit courtside for a reasonable price, and you can bring a family, right? And
yes,
right. So that's something to be said, right?
How's it going in the FC? You said I've heard talk that you guys might want to move into the old barn.
Yeah, I mean that was one of the things. They put a proposal together with the city, and they're still looking at the proposals, and I think that may come through again in a second tender opportunity. When it comes to the world of stadiums and doing all that's a tough one, right? As far as to get all the T's crossed, I's dotted, and make sure that it's right fit for everybody. I mean, in the big leagues, you hear NFL, and how long did it take him to build a Raiders stadium, right? 10 years or whatever it was, right?
Yeah.
Dardis will freak if it takes us this long, right, to do something like that. But like being downtown, that would be great for us here in Windsor.
Because I haven't been. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Nope.
The Spitfires Arena and the Express Current Arena. It's not really in downtown Windsor, is it? It's in the suburbs of Windsor.
It's on our east end. The biggest difference is most of our teams, I think actually all of them, it's designed for hockey. So it's just a little too big, I think, as far as when you put the court on the floor and that fan experience. The barn downtown would be fantastic because it'll be a little bit more tighter. It'll be a little bit more romantic in a sense, if you can look at it that way, and it'll be great for downtown, right? As far as foot traffic, that kind of thing in that corridor, right? So
and that barn's been around for 100 years, the Windsor Arena.
It has, right? Yeah, it's been around a long time. It's got a great history, and being from Windsor, everybody's got a barn story, right? As far as going there and nostalgia, and it's part of our DNA, right? So again, it's just it's a good fit.
Yeah, and there's not too many old arenas left. The only one I know in this area is the Kitchener Memorial Auditorium, which has been renovated a number of times, but it's still got that old school feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay.
Right.
My next question for you, Neal, is thoughts on the NBL Canada presently, and I guess we already talked about the startup of the 2021-22 season, and I guess also, can you tell my audience just a little bit more about the NBL of Canada?
Sure. I mean, I'm excited, especially for getting back to basketball. The league, like I said, is growing. It's great. The ownership has been the same for a few years as far as across the teams. In our central division, we've got Windsor, and then London, Kitchener, and then Sudbury. And then out east, again, it goes to Moncton, the PEI, the Halifax, and St. John's, Newfoundland, right? So, when you look at the level of basketball, it's extremely high level. It's a very athletic league, which a lot of players have to get used to. And that's just one of the things is when you play overseas, like every league around the world has a different feel to it. right? As far as, the type, was it physical, is it made up mostly of wings, depending on what country you're in, right? So, but ours has a good mix. We always have a lot of really, really good talent, no matter what team you have. And it's a great experience because a lot of the teams enjoy doing the visits to the schools. I know our guys love it, right? But you see around the league that the community involvement is huge. And when you come to the other leagues, like the NHLs, the NBAs, and all that, it's not the same, right? You don't have that same connection that you can, where the guys can come to the high school and give a talk and do something on court, and it's fairly easy to do, right? But all the teams are always looking to do that fan interaction, and we're always reaching out to anybody in the community just to say, hey, reach out to us, right? We're looking to do that and be part of it, right? Because like you said, like you alluded to earlier, with everybody, the rise of basketball in Canada and going to the States. Well, and that's why it's so important for us to be here in Windsor. You've seen what the Raptors did for Toronto. You saw what the Grizzlies did when I lived in Vancouver. It's a springboard for talent and gets everybody excited because they can see it. And especially for us, that's why it's so important that we're down here. And the kids can come out, they can attend the camps, they can see real life professionals that they would have seen on the NCAA tournament or otherwise, or U Sports tournament and all those games, and playing right here. And it's something to be said where when you grow up in Windsor, say, hey, I love basketball, I can actually play here, and that could be my job, right? So it's just great all the way around, right? So
definitely.
It's unique anyways, right? So
and like I said, you got the Spitfires, you got the Express, and you know what? It's important for people to have teams in their own community too.
You're right. It really is. Like we're spoiled here in Windsor just because Detroit's so close, and we have all the major markets. But when you look at all the other markets, they really don't have another professional team close, right? In that sense, right? Yeah. London, that's why they connect with the OHL team so much, because that's their closest professional team otherwise, right? So, but yeah, Windsor's always been spoiled that way. Right?
But I still like to bug the Londonite fans. Hey, Windsor won 3 Memorial Cups, London won 2. And you know what? Winning the OHL championship, which Guelph did in 2019, is tough enough. But to win the Memorial Cup, man, it's just it's hard. Like to me, it's just amazing that you guys did it the Windsor did it 3 times, and then the Express won back-to-back, I believe, NBL titles in 14 and 15.
That's correct. Yeah. So I remember the last Spitz title for the Memorial, and it was just, the whole city was just, the vibe was phenomenal. Yeah. Right. The stadium was packed, and that's what you love to see. As a coach, as a player, it's just a fan, right? And that's why the NBA bubble was so difficult, and even CBL last summer, because there wasn't those fans, right? So it's different when there's fans in the stands, right?
And they do make a difference, like the NFL. I'm an Eagles fan, but the Eagles struggled last year. Like the Eagles are in a rebuild, obviously, but playing at the Link with no Eagle fans, you know how crazy Philly fans are. It's they do make a difference in all sports leagues. I personally think they do.
Oh yeah, it was funny just talking to the NBA guys that I talked to, and when they were in the bubble, and they were like, "Oh, I'm not used to the cameras being able to hear what I'm saying without being mic'd up for the day," right? So they were like, "Oh, okay." And then you hear their families, because they were allowed in eventually at the end, and you can hear the wives yelling. It's just, it picks it up on the broadcast, so it was just unique, right? Something you'll never, hopefully, ever see kind of again, right? So.
Well, I'm going to put you on the spot too now. That was my next question for you, Neal. Who are your picks to meet in the 2021 NBA Finals, and who will win it all?
Oh, even around work, everybody always asks me, and I was like, I'm such a fan of the game. I personally, I don't care who wins. I'll watch any game at any time. I would think if everybody stays healthy, I would almost say that Phoenix would do it, just because of matchups. At this level, it really does come down to matchups. and just seeing how it fits. I would think Milwaukee would be able to come out of the East, right? And again, just because of the matchup. Talents are there on all four teams when you get to this point, right? Everybody's so talented, right? So,
yeah, and I was bringing it up with Aaron the other night. The Bucks haven't won a championship since '71 when Lou Alcindor, who was Cream Abdul-Jabbar back then, won. The Hawks didn't win a championship, haven't won a championship since they were the St. Louis Hawks in 1958. The Suns have been to the finals twice, 76 and 93, and they both lost. And then the Clippers, they haven't had much luck since they were founded as the Buffalo Braves in 1970. And this is the first time they've ever been to the third round. So it's kind of nice to see some new, fresh blood in the NBA playoffs, because for so many years it was the Lakers and Spurs and it's just it's good for the sport too to have other franchises be successful too.
Yeah, you're right, because it builds more fans, right? So
yes,
but yeah, I think it'll come down to health. I think they were saying that Kawhi won't be back at all for the Western Conference, anyways. So whether or not that they'll be able to fit, right? Because when you look at the box score for the Clippers, I was like, their do not plays could be a team on their own, right? So
well, they're missing Serge Ibaka as well, and that's a huge loss too.
Yeah, they are
huge loss.
So, yeah, and it's all those kind of pieces that really, because you know what you're going to get from the stars, right? From the all-stars type of thing.
Yeah.
But it's all the other guys that, hey, if they're able to step it up when their number is called, then that's what puts you over, right? And,
and you're right. Right now, none of these teams I dislike Milwaukee or dislike Atlanta. So there's nobody. I'm not a Lakers fan. I can't stand the Lakers, even with Kobe and Magic. I know they're a great franchise, but there's certain franchises you just don't like, and there's nobody. That's good for sports too. You need to have the villain in sports, like the Dallas Cowboys. I can't stand them because they're the
well,
evil
you're an
empire.
Eagles fan.
Yeah. So, but it's good. But every sport needs the bad guys. Like even the London Knights. They're a great organization, but I always call them the villains because they've been so successful so long. The other teams, it's just you need the villain in sports too.
Yeah, it's great narrative, is what it is, right? So
definitely. But I was gonna say, and I'm looking forward to the first game tonight at 8:30. So we'll see what happens there, Atlanta and Milwaukee. So I'm looking forward to that.
It'll be great to see Atlanta's speed in their guards, kind of versus Milwaukee's size, really.
Yep.
And how they're able to pull it through, right? So
and funny thing is, Atlanta's got an interim coach, I believe, in Nate McMillan.
Yeah, Nate's always done a great job. I mean, usually he's always been known as one of those builder coaches, but he just knows what he's doing. And the guys bought in really quick when he first jumped on, and it was just. I'm happy for him personally, just because he's such a great person too. But yeah, ever since, back in the Seattle days, right? So when he was playing, right? So,
I hope Seattle gets a team again. I really hope Seattle, the Supersonics. I like to see them back.
Yeah. When I lived in Vancouver, it was great. We used to drive down. I used to go down to watch practices and. Step in there. They had a great little training facility just downtown there, and they had a couple cats outside that they fed, and it was just like stray cats that was part of the team, and you get to be around and a couple courts, and you're right there, right? And that was however long, early 2000s, right? So
well. Now that they got an NHL team in Seattle, I think the NBA will be back there very soon. And I'd like to see Vancouver get an opportunity again. They just didn't have the difference between them and the Raptors is they had Vince Carter and the Grizzlies had Big Country Reeves. No disrespect, but if they had a superstar player like Carter instead of I just wish things could have been different there. But I really do think Vancouver should get a shot again in the future for an NBA team.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if you think about what back when they had the team, it wasn't the media that it is today. Right. So a lot of the players didn't know very much about Vancouver. Vancouver's a beautiful city, right? Great place to live. Everything's outdoors. You're in a rainforest, right? So, and when you go to a Canucks game, it's great. And whether you're a hockey fan or not, it's just the arena's so much fun to be in, right? And Grizzlies was like that too. It was just, back then it just didn't have that media attention that now you almost don't worry about because of where we're at in technology, right?
Yeah. So, and I even think Montreal would be a good NBA city at some point.
Oh yeah, Montreal produces some great players. When you look at who's coming out of there, we had one gentleman, Kamiose, on our team that's playing for Saskatchewan right now. Phenomenal player, right? As far as players that come out of Montreal, and we've got a number in our league, and obviously overseas as well, right? So,
okay. And my last question for you, Neal, any advice for those watching tonight looking to possibly pursue a career in the coaching aspect of sports?
Well, I think and I always tell everybody, reach out. You'd be surprised how many coaches are open to connect and have open dialogue and conversation. And it really is all about kind of who you know, because it's such a comfort. The stakes are very high, so you want to know people that first and that you trust. There's always combines, no matter what league you're in, the States, Canada, but Guelph, that you're kind of affiliated with and helping out. So same idea, right? Just call up. Hey, do you need another body? Can I do this? Can I sit in and watch? Early in my career, any chance I had to sit in and watch any practice, be it junior college, professional, ABA, no matter what it was, I sat, right? I was just a sponge. So you try and get as many ideas as you can. But reach out. With technology these days, it's just, I know I'm meeting new agents and players every day, right? Through Twitter, Instagram, whatever it is, right? So
build your contacts. Basically. And that's what I've been doing on here. And like you were saying with the coaching fraternity, with me being a rookie on this, I've been lucky to have guys like John Murphy from the Bills, Bob Sochi from the Patriots, and they all come on and they're so supportive of me, and they basically treat me one of their own. And it's really nice when you're trying to get into a profession where everybody's kind of like supporting you and trying to help you, and it just makes you want to even do a better job. So contacts is definitely huge.
Yeah, and I mean, and everybody really wants to see everybody succeed, right? I mean, that's the way I look at it, anyways, right? It'd be great to see you, on your own podcast with 1 million views and all that kind of stuff shortly. But I mean, that's part of it, right? When you're rooting for everybody else, right?
Yeah, and it's also practice and reps too. It's just like anything in sports. You keep practicing, you do your reps, you eventually improve, and you got to keep doing that all the time. You can never be complacent, because complacency is not any good, and that goes for athletes too.
Yep. Yeah, you've always got to be open to grow and learn, and you got to take a step back and surround yourself with like-minded people and people that are smarter than you. I think that's the same in any business, right? That you want to do, because that's how you learn, right? And again, you go back to mentors, and even Bill. I mean, it's been great being alongside of him, and hearing his stories in the NBA and all that too, right? So,
before I let you go, Neal, where can people find you on social media? I already put out the NBL website on here, and then the WindsorExpress.ca website. But where can some of my audience find you on social media if they want to follow you?
Me, whether it's Twitter, Instagram, is Coach Foreman. I've always kept simple. You can see how old I am because there's no numbers in any of my names. It's just, first and last type of thing. LinkedIn, I think if you search under Neal Foreman, I'll pop up that way. But those are really the three that I connect with the most as far as coaches and agents and players. And by all means,
I'll definitely follow. I know I've got you on LinkedIn, but I'll definitely have to look you on Twitter, because I'm on Twitter quite a bit too.
Yeah, all these great platforms, and LinkedIn is huge now, right? Especially more and more players now, because they can resumes on, they can show what they need to show, and it's a professional arena is what it is, right? So
definitely,
I've met quite a number of agents and players lately going that route, so they're getting smarter.
Yeah, and I have my platform, like this is on YouTube Live, Facebook Live, Twitter Live, and then I have this on 9 audio platforms. So I'm just trying to expand myself, and hopefully, like I said, people come and give me a listen, and like some of the guests I try to get on here. So
Yeah, like I said, it's a great idea, right? Somewhat local, and yeah, I appreciate you having me on. It's been great.
well, I was going to say, Neal, hopefully again in the future, maybe when it's a little closer before the NBL season starts up, maybe I can have you come on and just talk about the 2021-2022 Windsor Express and how you see things going this year for the team.
No, that'd be great. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Once we kind of get our schedule out and we can kind of go over things, and I'd love to hear Aaron's side of it too, because he's better at that kind of stuff than I am. We're so tunnel vision, right? It's just who's coming up next. But yeah, definitely would love to be back.
Yeah, and definitely, hopefully you can tune in, because I think Aaron's going to come back on in maybe a couple weeks, and we'll do an NBA Finals podcast. So maybe you can even pop in by and come on that as well if you like.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Because I'm always, I love basketball, but I still like to learn stuff, especially from Aaron and yourself, and I really appreciate you coming on tonight, Neal. I thank you so much.
No, thank you. I've had a great time.
Okay, well, you have a good night, Neal, and we'll definitely keep in touch, okay?
Definitely. Thank you again.
Enjoy the games tonight. Enjoy the Hawks-Bucks game at 8:30.
Same, and yeah, we'll see who the Pistons draft in a month or so. Yeah.
Cross your fingers. Okay, well, all right. Thanks, Neal. Have a good night.
Thanks. Have a good one. Bye.
You too. Bye. Anyways, I just want to say thank you to my guest, Neal Foreman, the assistant coach of the Windsor Express of the NBL, for coming on tonight. I really appreciate him giving me over an hour of his time. Guys, you can also check out the Windsor Express on their website, windsorexpress.ca. And also you can check out the NBL website, which is nblcanada.ca, if you want to check that out. It's a really good league as well. So I'm really lucky. We're lucky in Ontario. We have 2 leagues, the CEBL and the NBL of Canada as well. So anyways, guys, I'm just going to read some comments here. Let's see. Trevor, do you think Montreal will play Tampa in the finals? As of now, yes. And Trevor, let's see. Gulf Royals baseball team canceled this season. Yes. I'm not surprised. And let's see. Mark, great guest, fun guest. Yes, I'm hoping to have Neal back again in the future. And Mark, if you get a chance, check out the Windsor Express website and check out the NBL of Canada website as well. It's really good basketball, and I'm hoping to do an Express game this year, maybe in Windsor, and maybe see a Kitchener-Waterloo game at the Kitchener Memorial Auditorium as well. So, anyways, let's see. Mark and Trevor, thank you for watching as always. And let's see what else we got tonight. Guys, we got the NBA Eastern Conference Final, Game 1 tonight, Atlanta and Milwaukee. We'll see what happens there. I don't know who to pick in this series, because the Atlanta Hawks are playing with house money, and the Milwaukee Bucks are playing really good basketball right now, and both teams are fairly healthy. So I think that's going to be a 6 or 7 game series. And then tonight, we also have the NHL Stanley Cup Playoffs, Round 3. Game number 6, Tampa Bay and the Islanders going on at 8 o'clock. Tampa Bay leads the series 3-2. Could this be the last ever game at the Nassau Coliseum? I say no. I think the Islanders played poorly in Game 5, lost 8-0, and I really think they're going to come out tonight and play with a lot of pride. And those 12,000, 13,000 Islander fans, the yes chance at the Nassau, I think they're going to force a Game 7. I do think overall Tampa Bay is a better team, and will win in 7, but I really think the Islanders will come and show up tonight and win Game 6. So we'll see what happens there. And I was going to say the Canadians are 1 win away from the Stanley Cup. They played tomorrow night against Vegas, Game 6 at the Bell Center. And former Owen Sound Attack and Guelph Storm player Nick Suzuki has been outstanding in the postseason. 5 goals, 8 assists, 13 points for the Habs. So we'll see what happens. But the Habs are 1 win away from being in their first Stanley Cup final since 1993. But I'm not counting out Vegas yet. I think Vegas still could make a 7th game, but we'll see what happens. Anyways, guys, some other news. George Springer returned to the Blue Jays lineup last night. He's been out most of the year, so that's good news for the Blue Jays offense. And before I go, guys, just to let you know as well, I'd like to promote the CEBL. June 24th, the league starts off. Ottawa at Niagara at 7 o'clock. And then the Guelph Nighthawks season opener is June 28th at Ottawa. And then the Nighthawks home opener is Friday, July 9th at 7 o'clock versus Hamilton at the Sleeman Center. And it looks like there won't be any fans for now in the arena, but hopefully maybe later on in the season. So anyways, guys, like I said, I hope you guys enjoyed my podcast tonight. And again, I want to thank Neal for coming on and talking to us about his coaching career in the NBL of Canada and the Windsor Express. And I definitely have to have him back on again as well. Also, guys, just please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Chris Pame, and hit the like button. I'm trying to build up my audience on YouTube as well. And before I go, guys, I always have to mention this too. 30 Minutes Live with CDP podcast. The audio version is on Google Podcasts, Anchor FM, Apple Podcasts, Breaker, Pocket Casts, Radio Public, Spotify, and Castbox. So I've got about 9 audio platforms as well. Like I said, guys, and let's see, one more comment. Don't worry about that, Trevor. Thank you, Trevor, for watching. Same with Mark. And my next podcast, guys, is tentatively scheduled for Saturday, June 26th at 3 o'clock Eastern, 12 on the West Coast. I'm going to have stand-up comedian Gali Krupp she's originally from Israel, now living in LA, coming on my podcast at 3 o'clock Eastern on Saturday. And again, 12 on the West Coast time. So I look forward to talking to Gali about her having to come from Israel to the States, and then why she became a stand-up comedian and stuff like that as well. Anyways, and the last thing I want to talk to you guys about tonight before I go is the Detroit Pistons. I'm happy for the third time in their history are drafting number 1 overall. First time since 1970, where they got Bob Lanier, and then 67 with Jimmy Walker. It looks like Cad Cunningham, a point guard from Oklahoma State Cowboys, is the consensus number 1 pick. So we'll see what happens there. And I'm just going to put that up on here too, guys. Before I go, the NBA draft lottery results from last night. Obviously, the Pistons are number 1. The Rockets stayed number 2. Cleveland number 3. Toronto Raptors moved up to number 4, which is good for the Raptors. They're going to probably get a really good player on that. Orlando's number 5. Oklahoma 6. Golden State number 7. Orlando number 8. Sacramento number 9. The Pelicans number 10. Charlotte 11. Spurs number 12 for Mr. Aaron Sanders. Number 13, Indiana Pacers, and Golden State is number 14 as well. So, but it looks like the Pistons are going to get a franchise type player here, and I'm really happy because, like I said, the first time in my lifetime the Pistons have gotten number 1. So I know in 1981 they got Isaiah Thomas 2nd overall, but they should get a good player in this draft. So I'm looking forward to it. So. All right, guys, I'm going to call it a show. But again, I just want to say thank you to Neal for coming on, and everybody for watching this live on YouTube, Facebook Live, and Twitter, and later on my audio version as well. So, guys, I'm going to call it a night. We'll talk to you guys Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock with Gali Krupp, stand-up comedian from LA. Thanks for watching 30 Minutes Live with CDP, and enjoy the game tonight between the Bucks and Hawks at 8:30 and the Islanders in Tampa Bay at 8 o'clock. Go Islanders, by the way. All right. See you guys Saturday. Take care.